Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Podcast. It is Saturday. We're getting these bets out to you as soon as we can. A lot of moving parts here on Saturday. You probably already saw the trade between the Knicks and the Raptors. Not going to spend much time talking about that. In fact, not even going to dive into either of those teams' games. In fact, I really only have one game that I feel comfortable betting on right now to make sure I get a video out to you guys. So we're going to get into that one here in a bit. I've got 4 bets, to be honest, even though they're all from the same game. But I feel like I have a pretty strong grasp on the game theory and how this one is going to play out between the Bulls and the 76ers. Plus, I just don't have a solid injury report to make plays on other games right now with so many guys questionable between Cat from that Minnesota game. You've got Luka questionable with a ton of guys probably not playing for the Mavericks. We don't even have the Warriors might just be without Kevon Looney, but we just don't have props for anyone because Luka is the sun around which all of this will rotate. So we need to wait for his status to be able to bet on that one. So I'm going to stick to what I know. Quick look at what we did on Friday. And you probably saw that there were 2 videos, one with myself just flying solo and one with Kareem where he gave his bets and I had already given my plays for the day. Kareem made the good point that I shouldn't be taking on my guest records and that I should be very clear about what they are when they come on. And I have them already separated. I've just been combining them to keep it easy on you guys. But to be honest, I've been doing better than my guests. So I don't want to take that L. I might be humble and transparent, but I'm not going to fucking lie about how I'm doing. So I'm going to stick to what I know and how I'm doing in these records. Moving forward. Lillard got 25 points. He actually got 31. Wish I had laddered that or at least told you guys to do that, honestly, because that was a good play there. Tyrese Maxey under 6.5 assists. Love that bet. He got 4, only 2 at halftime. We really sweat free. And then Paul Reed, not going back to B-ball Paul. Not sure what the hell he was doing out there. He really didn't get the minutes. Nick Nurse doesn't seem to trust him. He's somewhat of a liability on offense because honestly, can make layups at times if you watched him play. So that's pretty frustrating. We're going to stick away from him. I did not take the L on Craig Porter Jr. To be honest, if anything, it felt like a W. He had 14 points after only playing 5 minutes before the fourth quarter came around, played 10 minutes in the fourth quarter and scored 14 points in the game with 1 board, 1 assist. But Karis LeVert was in that game. Carl LeVert. That's Carl LeVert is when Karis sucks. Karis LeVert's presence in that game also was what I was telling you guys. Stay away from Craig Porter Jr. if Karis LeVert's playing. And if it's anywhere around like 21, even with LeVert in there, I still don't really like it that much. So LeVert was in. We stayed away from Craig Porter Jr. on the lean, which I was telling you guys about. Didn't make it a best bet. So hopefully you stayed away from that as well, like I told you to. That left us 2-1 on the day, 0.9 units up, and just on three bets there with the player props. I was waiting for Kareem as well, but got 4 here for you today. A quick look at the record. Like I said, I updated this so that it's just my numbers in here. 79 and 64 plus 4.9 units on the season. Rolling along with the player props, 12.6 units up and 67 and 45 with a really nice winning record there for you guys. So want to get those units up a little bit. I don't love the fact that I have a record of 22 games above 500 in the player props and we only made 12.6 units. It's still worth it, but it's a lot of work to get to 12.6 units when you're making 131 2 bets or whatever that is right now that I've been putting out on the show. So let's get into the 4 bets I have here. It's just 2 players, and we're looking at a couple different plops. Tyrese Maxey is the first one here, under 3.5 3-pointers made. Juice way the hell down. Minus 155 on FanDuel. That's why I'm putting 1.55 units on it, because I do want to win a full unit back in the bet that I would make here with Tyrese Maxey. This is a part of the game theory here, man. This is a part of all of it. By the way, if you can't get this at 3.5 and you can only get it at 2.5, take plus money. If you're not getting like plus 115 for under 2.5 threes for him or better, that's not a good bet. That's a sucker's bet. He doesn't make very many, obviously, but he takes some. He's going to shoot probably 7 of them, I would guess, in this game if they let him get him off. That would be the ceiling, though, for where I'd put it. And my point is, it's possible he shoots 7 threes, in which case making 3 of them, pretty good percentage. Not very likely, though, even if that happens. So I'm still happy with under 2.5 if you want to play sort of like an under ladder, if you will. But this is a part of all 4 bets. So let's start with this part. Chicago limits point guards to the 3rd fewest 3-pointers made per game. As I'll tell you in a minute, they also limit them to the fewest points per game. And we've been talking about that as we took Halliburton under points. We took Trae Young under points when they faced this team. And a few other guys that I'll mention here in a second in terms of all the point guards that have played against this Bulls team recently and don't go over. In fact, the only real true starting scoring point guard to have gone over of late against this team in the points category is Tyrese Maxey, but we'll talk about that even further in one second. With Embiid in the game, and this is what I was so happy to find, Tyrese Maxey needs Joel Embiid to make threes. And that was my thought process, especially with the way that Nick Nurse has incorporated Joel Embiid his passing skills into the Philadelphia offense. Doc Rivers was never really able to get Joel to pass the ball without turning it over. And now Nick Nurse comes in, and all of a sudden Joel's like 6 assists per game is highly reasonable to expect him to have that for the entirety of the season when he plays. He's obviously out in this one. If you guys didn't know, he's another giant sun within a solar system that really, everything revolves around him. But we still know that without him, Maxey's not nearly the 3-point shooter. 3.5 threes made with Joel in there on 41.5% from deep, right? With 8.5 attempts that he's taking. Without Embiid, he takes 1 fewer threes. He makes nearly 2 fewer threes, 1.8 threes made on the season without Joel in 6 games. That's a 23% 3-point percentage because he's now wide open, right? Joel is collapsed. Everything collapses down onto Joel when he has the ball in the post. And then JoJo's quick outlet passes not outlet, but passes out to the wing or into the corner at times, either to Tobias or Tyrese Maxey, are why both those guys are better at shooting threes when Joel Embiid is on the court. And really, then love that. Then you look at Chicago and where they're vulnerable, and they're vulnerable versus shooting guards at the 3-point line. And we'll talk about that in this game as well for another bet that I'm making. But it's very clear that Alex Caruso, especially with him in there, is doing one thing, which is just not letting scoring point guards get off. They're not allowed to get their shot off from 3 without a hand in their face. They're not allowed to get into the lane without either getting fouled or having to pass, and more likely, because Chicago's still in the top half of the league in limiting free throw attempts. So we'll talk about that with the points, which I'm going to get to right now. But I love this bet. Like I said, one more time, 1.55 units to get me to a full unit 1 if this bet hits, which I very much think it will. And then if you don't have it on your book at 3.5, take 2.5 and only do it for plus money. It's got to be like plus 114, 120 in that range. The under 2.5 at like minus 105 is stupid to me. So don't take that rip off there. The second bet here for Maxey is just for him to go under the points. And this one I feel a little bit less confident in because he could get to the free throw line. I just watched him do it 15 fucking times against Houston, but also I got to pat myself on the back a little bit because I did nail exactly how Tyrese Maxey was going to play in that Houston game, right? Houston is not a team that lets you get assists. They let you get points. So they're the complete inverse of the Chicago Bulls team, which is like, we're not letting you get too many threes off, but we're certainly not letting you get much off. Once you get within 10 to 15 feet of the basket, or God forbid closer, we're keeping you out of the lane. Also, we got Andre Drummond in this game, hopefully getting more than 21 minutes, which he got last game. If he gets 30, now we have a legit rim protector in there for the Bulls, which they never had with Nikola Vucevic in there, who also, if you didn't know, is not playing in this game. Probably should have said that off the top. Also should have told you to subscribe and like the video off the top, but I didn't fucking do that. So the point is like, this is the complete opposite of what we saw, where he got 15 free throws against Houston last night. He got everything in the paint. 50% of his points were in the paint, which, by the way, he scored 42. So this is a little bit ballsy to go under 29 on a guy that you just watched get off. But like I said, completely different matchup where it's the assists are actually going to be there way more for Maxey, and the points are going to be way less there for Maxey compared to last night. Just to talk about how much Chicago does that. Only 2 point guards have gotten 25 or more points on the season against this team. The one time that it happened with the Philadelphia 76ers, it was Tyrese Maxey. Joel was in the game. Alex Caruso was not in the game. That's the biggest point, is that Caruso wasn't there when Maxey went off for 29 against this team. And I would argue he didn't really quite go off. He also needed to shoot threes, which we know he doesn't do without Joel. So that's why I love the under here for him. 5 point guards have gotten 20 plus points on the season. And Caruso was missing for at least 2 of those, and he was injured in one of them. So like 2.3 games that he was there for of the 5 where these guys got 20 plus points. Dude's a crazy good point guard defender, and it's actually very interesting to see what will happen on the all defense team. This team between he, Drew Holiday, and more importantly Derek White, both on the Celtics. Both those dudes form the nastiest defensive backcourt in the league, and Caruso might be better than both of them, to be honest, because he's doing this without Lonzo Ball, who would have been his awesome defensive backcourt mate, and he's obviously out for pretty much the season. And God bless you. I hope you come back, Lonzo, because I love watching you play. But everything that was there for Tyrese is not going to be there against the Bulls. That's the whole point. He's going to have to kick out. And who is he going to kick out to? Best bet number 3, D'Anthony Melton. And I'm not going to get into 2 slides for D'Anthony. He only gets 1. I love you, D-Melt, but I needed to get into a couple more points for Maxey. So he got 2 slides. We're combining best bets 3 and 4 here onto this 1 slide to say D'Anthony Melton over 2.5 3-pointers made. We get even money on DraftKings for that. Full unit on that. Over 15.5 points as well for him, because like I got to put 0.5 units on it. He's averaging 18 points a game without Joel in the games that he's played this season without him, because everything goes up for him. I mean, obviously, a lot more shots to go around, and a lot more ball movement and a lot more collapsing onto guys like Harris and Tyrese Maxey when you know that they're now the number one and number two options on the team. And really, it's like 1A, 1B, because sometimes Tobias takes over when Tyrese doesn't have it. And the teams that Tyrese hasn't had against lately without Joel are a lot more similar to how he's going to face the Bulls. It was Miami, it was Orlando, right? Is these teams that when he went under, it's really, really good defensive teams that collapse you and make you kick it out to three, which is what Chicago does. That's the only place they're vulnerable, and it's specifically with shooting guards. They allow the most three-pointers made on the season to shooting guards. They also are allowing the fifth most points per game to shooting guards. That's in their last 15, I should say, is more specifically when they're allowing the most points. But on the season as a whole, to be clear, because Caruso has played most of the games this season, they are allowing the most three-pointers to the shooting guard. D'Anthony Melton has always been the beneficiary of when things get funneled out from down low, right? And Tyrese Maxey is going to try to drive. That's his game. He's not a three-point shooter unless he's spotting up because Joel helped him get open. But D'Anthony is going to be the beneficiary of guys now focused on Tyrese, like I said. So with Embiid, he averages actually 6 minutes less per game. I should have mentioned that. The volume and the minutes are there when Embiid is not in. So he goes from 11 points per game to 18 without Joel. He goes from 1.8 three-pointers made to 2.8 without JoJo, and 5.1 attempts versus 8.3 attempts with Embiid off the court, because there's just more threes for him to go around, because there's way more shots, because Joel is going to be shooting. If he's not shooting 20 times from the floor, it's because he also got to the line 15 times. And so either way, his usage is massively high. D'Anthony Melton's going to be a huge beneficiary of him not being that way. So it all just adds up, man. Like the correlation between he and Tyrese, the way that Chicago plays point guards versus the way they let shooting guards get theirs a bit more. It's just the perfect situation for a guy who flies under the radar in Melton way more than the other guys on the floor, specifically Maxey and Tobias Harris. So love the idea of everything just being funneled outwards, right? Sort of like a really good run defense on in the NFL, where it's like, you got to go to the outside here, man. You can't come down the middle. And that's going to be the case a lot more in this game for Philly. So running back through these bets, D'Anthony Melton, we're going to get him over 2.5 threes. We're going to get D'Anthony Melton over 15.5 points with half a unit on that one, full unit on the threes. And then Tyrese Maxey under 3.5 threes made. Also happy to take under 2.5 for plus 115 or better. And then Tyrese Maxey under 28.5 points with a full unit. If you are playing the 3.5 threes under for Maxey, like I said, I'm happy to put the 1.55 units on it, because that gets me to a full unit one in the event that this happens, and I feel great about it. So that is all the time that I have for you guys in this one. I'm going to continue to bring these bets out. I should have also said at the top that I'm excited to be interviewing DK_DFS. DK is going to jump on with me here in a little bit to answer some questions that I have, so he can go through the situation that happened online. If you're paying attention to that, already have a video up where Kareem and I talk about it. I believe Kareem is going to join me for the conversation with DK. I think it'll be a really fun, more evergreen piece of content. Probably get about 30 minutes in with us talking about sort of how you should handle being a capper online versus being a pro bettor. Also online, there's some controversy there. A lot of guys had some beef about the way that DK handled a specific situation recently. So subscribe to that page. Appreciate you all following along. Gonna have my underbet, my preferred underbet of the day in a video. If you're watching this, you probably know what it is, but check it out on Shorts, Instagram Reels, TikTok, Twitter, all the like. And until I see y'all next, happy betting.